All right, Big Bang. Today's Thursday. It's October 17th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Today I'm joined in studio by our head of sales. His name is Ryan McDermott. Ryan, welcome to the Dog Walk. Thanks for doing this.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's good to kind of talk, have these inside Barstool chats, and just kind of let people hear what they want to hear. People love the Barstool one, so I'm happy to have you.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I always love hearing about the business of Barstool, and even as a fan, listen to Dave Portnoy show over the years, Unnamed, Dog Walk. I think that there's so many people who do want to know what goes on, get a little bit of a under the hood look of what goes on at Barstool. So excited to kind of tell the story.
Totally. So how long have you been head of sales now?
Yeah, so I've been head of sales for, I think, coming up on 2 years. I've been at Barstool for 7. So I started September 2017. Prior to Barstool, I was working at CBS Sports. So I was doing sales there, selling the Masters, NFL, SEC Game of the Week.
PBR.
PBR. It was awesome. Loved it. It was so much fun. We had great people there, and it was very much like that locker room vibe and mentality, which is what I love. I grew up playing a ton of sports. So for me, I loved that culture. And then, made the move over in 2017 when, the business team was really, really small then. I think, Steve Che was on the business team back then. It was small. I think at the time we had 3 sellers. We were doing very, very little revenue at the time, less than 8 figures. And I remember, I came on board in that September, and then in October, Barstool Van Talk launched on ESPN2. And I was so excited because I'm wow, Barstool's on ESPN. This is incredible. In terms of sales and marketing, being out in the marketplace, there's nothing better. It was such a great moment for us. And that's what we were talking about for those first couple of months when I first was here. And then that obviously got canceled. And I was what the fuck did I get myself into? But no, we rallied past it. And that's kind of what Barstool's, at least on the sales marketing side of the house, there's ebbs and flows, there's highs and lows. And we've dealt with a lot of shit over the years.
Yeah.
There's, we all know this, there's so many hit pieces on us, and it's my job, our sales team's responsibility to go out and defend it, and, there's just so much more that you have to kind of uncover and really just be able to explain and educate. It's probably the biggest thing. It's education. Barstool is just so big, right? We've got 80 personalities and hundreds of franchises. And when you just kind of talk to people, they're oh, I thought it was really just Dave and his One Bite Pizza reviews, or I thought it was just PMT, or I thought it was Brianna. It's oh man, there's this whole other world that you really have to get to know, and so much content that we're pushing out every single day. So that's our job. It's education, and then finding the right ways for brands to integrate into the content that we're doing.
So you saw the vision in 2017 to kind of make the jump from traditional sports media, we'll say, to just media in general. I wouldn't put us in the sports box, obviously.
No.
But it was already kind of taken off, right?
Yes.
Turner had already made his investment. Barstool wasn't as scary to jump to at that point. Was when you told your peers that you were going from CBS to Barstool, were they are you sure? Or were they that's awesome?
They said I was an idiot for doing it. Because at CBS, listen, it's been around forever. It's the Tiffany Network. And you see what they're going through right now. They just got bought by Sundance. And for them, they merged with Viacom a couple of years ago. It's been very tumultuous for them. Just the media landscape the last couple of years, a lot of layoffs, a lot of mergers, and just a lot of people losing their jobs. When I made that decision, and I was talking with my dad, who I always go to for advice, and we were golfing. I was hey, Dad, I got this opportunity, and I think I really want to take it. I was probably a little nervous about what people were thinking, hey, you're going from a great stable job at CBS Sports,
a legacy media company.
Exactly. Everybody would love to work there and have that position. To go at that time, at least on the business side, was a risk and a gamble. It was so small. And he was like, "You're young. Like, what? This is like the time to do it." You know, I wasn't married, didn't have kids. It's like, yeah, you're right. All right. So made the decision, and yeah, I had so many people tell me I was an idiot for doing it. But also, you know, a lot of people who were like, "Hey, that's going to be awesome," and like still pumped for me. So yeah, once we got through probably that first year, it's like kind of found our stride. Like we were bringing in some really good brand partners on board. And I think early on, when I first joined, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be working with like a lot of like beer brands and liquor brands and condom brands and e-cig brands. One of like my first big deals here was Blue e-cigarettes. And that, I don't know if you remember, that was like Pat McAfee did like a game show. But that was like a big deal at the time. And then we were doing our college football show and we got Panera on board. So it was like, all right, we've really got to, if we want to scale and grow revenue, like you got to go after blue chip partners. And we actually have a slide right now. It's very funny looking at brands from like 2018 to now. I mean, a lot of direct response, performance type brands who still work with us and they're great partners. But then you look at the kind of blue chip Fortune 100 brands that are working with us, the Verizons, Pepsi, Chevy's, Kraft's, Kellanova. Like, it's a real impressive list of partners. And that just came in the form of like getting to the right people, educating them. Because my point earlier, a lot of them, they didn't know this entire world and ecosystem that exists under Barstool. And it's like, once you get them in, they stay. Like we have crazy retention and renewal rates, and they're like, all right, that was awesome. What else you got? And then it's just this kind of this halo effect where they just go into other franchises. And we're so fortunate that we have so many things to sell across sports, entertainment, pop culture, comedy. If you're looking for Gen Z, millennial, it's like, all right, even if you don't want sports and you're changing your marketing tactics to go after entertainment, it's like, all right, I got that for you over here.
Yeah, let me tell you about
so
this.
It's a really powerful story for us out in the marketplace to brands. It's like, we got 18 to 34 year olds on lock. That's legit, like our entire audience. Of course, there's parents and adult, 50-year-olds who like to watch our stuff, but our sweet spot is that 18 to 34 year old, and we got something for everybody.
I always love seeing the list that Anna used to send out of the advertisers, because you're right. It went from being these, no disrespect to them, they were a huge part in building what Barstool was, to get our feet on the ground, like 2016 to now. It is crazy to see.
Yeah, it's every now and then we do like pinch ourselves. Like we're like, pretty incredible the types of brands that are working with us. Like our college football show right now, we've got Uber, Powerade, Roback, Proper 12 Whiskey, High Noon. It's like, those are insane brands in one of our flagship shows. And like, I would put that up against any other show that's out there with the types of partners that are on board. It's like crazy.
What was your first moment where you're like, oh no, did I make a mistake? Was it Van Talk, or what was your first moment when you're like, oh, this is where I need to be, this is it?
Yeah, Van Talk was definitely, I was like, oh no. I'm like, everybody was right who told me like I was an idiot for going. I'm sure a lot of people felt that way. I feel terrible for Dan and PFT because they put so much time and effort into that, and you have all these visions of what your show is going to be in the next couple of years. But I think we all kind of were like, all right, that fucking sucked. We're going to move on. And we're just on to the next thing. And that's kind of been our mantra. 2017 to 2021, like it was every 2 months there was a hit piece. There was a Deadspin, article on us, Daily Beast, and then you had, other people, Kirk Minahane's crew coming after us and going after the advertisers, and it was a lot of just defending the wall. And we got through it. Like there were a lot of brands that wanted to cancel us, and we always just kept saying, it's like, just pause. This will blow over, as it always does. Usually takes 1 to 2 weeks. Like if you leave, you're probably never going to come back. And, you know, like Dave says, it's like loyalty is everything here. So the brands that really stick with us and kind of get through that stuff, like we're going to invest so much in you and go above and beyond. You know, we talk about, you know, the connection between the audience, our talent, and the brands. It's like, this is the 21-year story for Barstool. Like, in order for Barstool to be able to create all this content, you got to buy the merch, you got to buy the hats, you got to, you know, support our sponsors. And when like a brand invests in us, like you see it, we invest back in them. Like, you guys love the brands that work with you. You personalize it, you endorse them. And that's, you don't get that a lot of other places. And that's what they love coming back for. To kind of go back to your question, like when was it when it was like, oh, I want to, you know, keep staying and love this place. Yeah. This is it. Mm-hmm. You know, been here for 7 years, and you know, it's been a roller coaster, but it's always been going up. Mm-hmm. And when Dave bought back the company, it's like, as a fan of Barstool, like I was reading the blog when I was in high school. I was the one in college sending it to all my buddies, and it's like full circle now that I'm like working here. I'd say like, yeah, when Dave bought it back, it was like, all right, you could tell right away that you guys' talent were all re-energized, and it was like kind of back in the pirate ship. Mm-hmm. And the content over the last year has been so elevated and just so funny. And obviously Chicago's a big part of that, just being able to, you guys are always on. Like, it's 24/7, and that's what like the reality show of Barstool that I think we missed once COVID happened and everybody was kind of coming in and doing their own thing. But now that you guys are here and just messing around and like creating funny things, like that's what I think fans love to see. And then it's our job to try and figure out how to monetize it.
Yeah. And back to the blue chippers, do you remember like who the first big blue chip to fall was? And did that kind of open everything up from there, or how did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, I do remember when Panera came on board, that was a big deal. I got an email from Dave being like, nice job.
Those don't happen very often.
Those don't happen often. That was pretty awesome to get that. But yeah, in those early days, like we got some wins with Pepsi, we got some wins with Chevy. Mm-hmm. So once you get one of those, and then you're able to kind of create those case studies, and then you go out, you know, to different ad agencies and different brands, and you're like, hey, look at this list of brands who are working with Barstool. Like, if they're working with us, then why aren't you?
That's why the first move's so important.
It's huge.
Because you open the gates and everyone's like, hey,
yeah,
it worked for them.
It worked, and they stayed. Yeah. Like, if they didn't return, I'd be like, oh, I can't really use that. But they all stay and they keep growing, which is awesome. We have a slide right now just on like the NFL official partners who work with Barstool. It's like that work with the NFL, like half of them work with Barstool too. So it's just like so impressive that we've been able to like break in and break those. But like, listen, we work with Nike, we work with Apple. They might not be in the most prominent spaces within the Barstool ecosystem, but because we have so much to offer, like you find the right places for them where they're going to feel really comfortable. And sometimes it might come in the form of like a Jack Mac NWSL video for Nike, and it works and they love it and they keep coming back, and like they will keep expanding and they'll find, you know, more lanes.
Is alcohol still the biggest category?
Yeah, alcohol is massive.
So if there was a Barstool pie chart of how we make our sales dollars, is that?
Yeah, I'd say alcohol, CPG are the big two.
CPG?
Consumer packaged goods.
Okay.
So like Cheez-It.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So those
or like Body Armor.
CBG.
Those are our biggest ones.
Gambling, I assume too.
Yeah, of course, gambling.
So those are the top three.
I'd say those are the top three. The ones that we're really trying to break into that we've like historically just really haven't done a good job, which like it makes no sense. Like men's grooming. Like we had our own collab product where we did wood. I think that turned off a lot of the men's grooming partners, because why would you want to work with Barstool when we kind of have our own thing and everybody's promoting it? Mm-hmm. So we've discontinued that. So we're trying to really break in, get back into men's grooming and find a shaving partner. We work with deodorant partners, like Duke Cannon is a great partner of ours. But that's a category that's just like it's so ripe for us to go big in. Travel is another one that we've historically not done a good job with. I don't think any airline is going to work with us.
So close.
It's going to be tough. We've been close with a couple of them, but
I was so that series always
because
think about
because like we're so personal, and once there's a delay or canceled flight, big cat will jump in, and that will really mess up any conversations we're having. But like hotels, like if you just look at the last couple of years, like our talent are traveling nonstop. We do hundreds of events every single year. You guys are doing random travel series. It's like a hotel partner would be incredible for us to work with.
Honestly, crazy that we've never had one.
Yeah.
Right?
Insane.
Am I
never had one?
Not even for because if there was like a official Barstool hotel, listen, I'm not saying people would pass up a great deal to go to it, but if it was between the two and there was a good price and we said, hey, they got these things at the hotel bar, like people would definitely choose that.
Or it's like an extra 10% because they're working with Barstool.
Yeah.
People would do that.
That's what I'm saying.
So we're working through that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a couple of categories. Yeah, we started doing some Vanderhagen stuff for men's grooming, and that's kind of picking up. But what happened with Wood?
Without getting into like too many specifics, I don't think our audience was ever really going to buy a product that was like made by Barstool, like a men's grooming product. Like there's certain things that I think we tried to make things work during COVID. And we probably thought that, I think there was a time where it's like, hey, we can create whatever we want and our audience is going to buy it. But if you think about it, like, are you going to buy a Barstool shampoo? Like, why wouldn't you go with Head and Shoulders instead, right? There's a 100-year history of P&G creating these products, and they're great at doing it. Are you really going to switch to a shampoo that Barstool made? Probably not. So I don't think we did enough like market research on that one. It was probably forced because of COVID, and we were looking at different collaborations. And dude, there was a time where we had so many different companies reaching out to us and like, hey, we can do this collab, we can do that together. And we did a lot. We entertained a lot of it.
Well, I think there was a collaboration gold rush from my perspective after Pink Whitney.
Yes.
How well that worked, and then everyone came calling. There was that, and then, of course, with the good ones come the ones that don't work out, like the Barstool Bites and the
But
Wood,
even Barstool Bites, it morphed into Part of My Cheesesteak, which is doing really, really well, and it's awesome IP, and we've done some really good collabs with Pepsi on Part of My Cheesesteak. So sometimes you just need like a little like tinkering of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we thought at the time that we could, whatever we touched was gold.
Yeah. We kind of got, smelled their own farts a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Not the end of the world. And, we pulled the plug and it's fine. Onward and upward.
Is there anything like that that's kind of in the works?
Nothing to my knowledge. We still get approached all the time for collabs.
Yeah.
I think just in this new age, new world Barstool, we're just being so much more selective, and it's just really, really got to make sense. It's got to come from a personality and from a talent, and they're the ones who really have to get behind it. Like Stella Blue, it's like there's so much passion from Dan behind that.
Yeah.
There was a good reason like why we wanted to create that, and like every day he was doing coffee memes. It's like there's a story there that's already kind of brewing, no pun intended, where it kind of made sense for us. Like the next evolution was to develop and create that. But no, it's hard to create something that's organic, right? It just has to happen. And if and when it does in the future, we're totally down to develop it, but we just don't want to make things just to make them. Yeah,
because that's kind of what we're doing at that point.
That's what we were doing for a little bit.
Now, is there one of those collaborations that like low key is really crushing?
Part of My Cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Crushing. Yeah. Also, the Barstool bars are doing awesome.
Yeah.
Like we got 4 bars. I think there's plans to open up more. Like our partners are Stanton and Bowery. Like they know, they're in the hospitality business. They've been doing this for a long time. They're great partners.
Great guys.
Yeah. Like the bars are awesome and doing really, really well. So like that makes sense for us to continue to develop and grow that.
It is crazy to think about the bar aspect, because you've seen what happened like ESPN Zone and kind of what we're talking about like with Wood. Like you just kind of maybe get a little too big for your britches and whatnot. Yeah. I'm not saying that's right with the bars. Obviously, so the bars are successful, but just to think of where it all came from is truly remarkable.
Yeah.
Not to,
just like
suck our own dicks or anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you think about it, it's like, even with Penn, like having like our own Barstool Sports books, like I can't imagine what Dave was thinking when he started the newspaper 21 years ago. And then he's, using a huge scissor to open up a Barstool Sports book. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, for sure.
That, that arc, and to have our own bars is incredible. But yeah, I don't think it should go the route of like, hey, let's just like have a bar in every single city. It's got to be like, the city's got to make sense. Locations are huge. And let's do it right. Let's not like overexpand just because, we could.
Yeah. If I break out the pie chart again, and this is a question I think a lot of people get that work here, what would you say is the percentage of revenue that Barstool makes from sales?
So from advertising versus merch versus licensing, it's probably like 70, 20, 10 is probably the that pie chart. So yeah, it's a big part of our business, and that's why we love and appreciate how much effort and energy our personalities and talent put behind it. You guys care, and you really give a shit about the partnerships that you guys have, which is, they see it, and that's why they want to keep coming back, and why it's so important to treat them right. I'd say one of the best things about working with Dave now that he's so involved in the company, he's very much like a spirit of a partnership. It's not every single time whatever like the T's and C's and what's on the contract says. Like if it feels right, we want to make sure that's like a fair deal for everybody, and it's okay to like go above and beyond for our partners, because we want them to keep coming back. Yeah. And so, we're not part of a publicly traded company anymore. Like it's all on us. So if we mess up, the advertising partnerships and these deals, like something's got to give at some point. But no, we're in a great spot right now. It's been awesome the last year.
And I think that is so important too, where you talk about the controversies and everything, where the relationship with our sponsors became more personal, because we knew that they were kind of putting their ass on the line to work with us.
Oh yeah.
So we always want to kind of bust through the door for them, because
oh my God. Yeah.
It's, and I don't think other places have that. They're like, I show up to work, I do my job, I don't care what you guys sell.
They're just taking a deal.
Yeah. We're genuinely appreciative in a sense, because we know there is some risk and a different type of scenery that they're not used to.
Yeah, you don't want them to have to explain themselves on like why they made a decision to work with Barstool. It should be the easiest, seamless decision, and we make them look great. Mm-hmm. That's like our job, and our responsibility is to make all the buyers, the clients look like rock stars, inside their company, and we do that. That's what's awesome working here.
So we talked about, you said within the last year, obviously most people know last summer is when Dave took over the company and there was a large layoff. Yep. Do you know how many people in total ended up being gone?
Yeah, it was 100 people.
100 people.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest difference from that layoff?
Yeah. I think like most companies during COVID, times once you got to like 21, like business was good. Like companies were growing. They were hiring a lot of different people in different departments. I think where we got into a little bit of trouble is that we just created way too many middlemen and women, and created too much like corporate hierarchy. And Dave said this when in his little spiel when he bought the company back. It's like, if you need an answer, go directly to the person to get it. We were having to go through 4 or 5 different people. But I also kind of understand why we were doing that. Like the business was growing, the content was growing, we were managing up to Penn. And sometimes the answer was to just kind of hire somebody to do that job. So when the layoffs happened, and happened, right before football season, which is obviously our biggest time of the year, I think we were all very, very concerned that things were going to break. But the people who were here and are still here, we kind of just sucked it up and we're like, hey, like, this is the situation. We're just going to get through it. Nothing broke. And that was probably the biggest thing. It's like, hey, if like deals are falling apart, if we're not able to get like all of our deliverables done, if content's not going up, yeah, that'd be a huge problem. But we got through it. We're like, okay. Once we got to the start of this year, it's like, all right, new year, let's just, like, we're all in this together. And it's been awesome. And I think with Dave, he's allowed us to act very independently, but he's also very invested and involved. And I think, he obviously spent a couple of years not involved in the business side. He hasn't hid that at all. So we were working with Erica a lot at the time. But with him being back, he's like, whatever you guys need. And like, he'll jump on calls, he'll jump on client meetings. He's such a successful businessman. I don't think people really appreciate that. A lot of just common sense business, coming from Dave, questioning why we did things in the past. And a lot of times we just did it just because. So having, even though Dave, owns the company, having just fresh eyes and a fresh perspective was really helpful for him to kind of just point out some like basic things that he saw that were wrong, or some things process wise that didn't make sense, like just going straight to the source to like get an answer. Like, our answer was, let's hire more people. So that kind of thinking was really helpful. And then just honestly educating him on what's happened over the last couple of years, at least on the advertising side, I think was beneficial for him. But yeah, no, he's been honestly like great, like really, really great to work with. And it's available like anytime to help us. And I think with that, allowing us to kind of act on our own, be able to make the decisions that we think are best for the business, for the company, is just allowed us to bring in some really great partnerships and deals this year, which is allowing everybody to keep doing whatever they want to do content wise. Like, it's our job to bring in the money so you guys can do what you do. And another big thing is just making sure that, we don't want to lose money on stuff. I think we were doing things in the past, like Arizona Bowl, college basketball, like we were just overpaying for stuff and we weren't able to make it up on advertising, merch, tickets, whatever. So we just kind of killed those things. And it's like, let's just focus on what we're really good at. Looking ahead into the future year and being able to map out the content calendar for every single franchise was like massive, because when we are doing our upfronts and pitching brands, we can then scale up and, build our media packages and just try and get the most bang for our buck, and try and get the most money in. So like that was big. Like that was a huge thing that we did last September, October with like, I don't know if you remember that meeting, but it was like, we had like 100 people in that Zoom meeting just going through 2024. And we did that again this year. So yeah, things are like good, like very smooth. Like I was joking with MB, who runs our partnerships team and handles all of our activations and account management, that normally the start of football season, it's chaos here. Like you guys might not feel it, but on the business side, like there's so many deals happening and there's so many deliverables and things that need to be done. And things do, get missed every now and then, but that September every year just always feels like it's a mess.
Yeah.
This year, like crickets, like everything's just humming right now.
Smooth sailing.
And that's where I'm like, I just feel like we're in such a good place, like across the board, that it's kind of like nice and easy right now.
Yeah, that's good.
Good spot.
And then obviously all the headlines, and Dave said so, 2023, we lost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I think he said recently, as of this year, we are back profitable.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are good right now for the company. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
And then I'm sure you have people reach out to all the time, and likewise, everyone who works here does.
Yeah.
How do I get a sales job at Barstool?
Yeah. Honestly, the best way, it's like referrals, like from people that I know.
Yeah.
My LinkedIn DMs are kind of a dumpster fire. Like, I actually like talking to a lot of like college kids. I'll like selectively like pick and choose like, just people who just want to like talk, because I've been in that position. Like, it sucks not knowing what you want to do when you're 22 years old. So the more people you talk to, you're just getting life advice, and like networking, I think, is really big. And just letting them know that's like, you don't have to have it figured out at 21, 22 years old. And I get that when you're on a college campus and you see your peers like in suits going on interviews, or they have internships, and you're like, oh man, this person's gonna be making $50,000, I'm making nothing. It's like, it all evens out in the end. All you can do is just talk to as many people as possible. And then who knows, like, it could just be a random, reference, or, random connection, and that person takes to liking you, and then a job opens up, and then you're top of mind, and that's kind of how it happens.
But typically at this point, though, we're taking more experienced sellers.
Yes, on the Barstool sales team, yes, I want more experienced people. Definitely, I trust the people that we have here.
Like, there's not really entry-level sales jobs here.
No, not at this point. I want people who, I don't care if you work at like a legacy media company, because I think that they train you really, really well. Mm-hmm. But you got to know that like this place is a grind. You're prospecting. You're not just sitting back. Yeah, I would love it if you had like 3 to 5 years of sales experience before like working here. But we have junior sellers here who've worked at legacy companies.
We
for
do.
years.
I didn't know they did.
Yeah. And like, you give them like a small, list, and kind of let them see. And we've got a guy right now who's, he was working at Paramount for a number of years and kind of had like a hybrid AM, AE like role there. And he's come on here and he's doing like incredible stuff. You probably saw, this was filmed a couple weeks ago, but Call of Duty, when they had the replacer, Peter Stormare, come in.
Okay.
And so awesome campaign where, he would come into the Barstool world and replace our talent from doing the ad reads. So like in PMT, he was coming in and pretending to be PFT and doing the ad read. We made like a really funny, like 3-minute branded content video where he's doing a One Bite Pizza review, where he's on the yak and he does the wet wheel and he's literally in the shower getting wet.
Oh, wow.
But like such a creative, unique, different idea coming from our sales and marketing team that you can't get that anywhere else.
No.
In Barstool. And he got like a text there, and they're like, this is like the greatest like integration we've ever done. So that's what you can get here.
Yeah.
And it takes creativity. It takes knowing Barstool. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't necessarily need to be in the weeds to know every little storyline that's going on at Barstool, but like, you do kind of have to breathe it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obsessive on Twitter, like following everything that's going on in Barstool.
Yeah.
But there's days where it's like you're just working, and then it's the end of the day, and people will come to me like, "Oh, did you see that happen? Did you see that?" I'm like, "No, like it's impossible to follow everything." Yeah. We do hundreds of hours of content every single week. It's
literally
crazy.
impossible. How many sellers are there?
So we have 12.
12.
12 sellers.
I think people would be surprised by that number.
It's very low.
Yeah.
There are.
Why is it so low?
Well, we laid off a third of the team last year.
Okay.
We have really good people, like really experienced people who can handle these workloads. And I think that like, I'm just so grateful and like confident in like this team to be able to, get new partners every single year, but also like the partners who've been with us for a number of years. Like, that takes a lot of time, effort, and attention to that as well. And the relationships that they've developed are like really, really important.
But wasn't a big change when Dave took over, is they kind of like the base moved and their commission went up or something like that?
Yeah, we took some pay cuts for sure, but there's more upside. And so I think people really kind of took that to heart. And it's like, all right, like, I'm just going to try and bring in more business, and then I will make more money in the long run.
Yeah.
So yeah, taking a little bit of a haircut on the base, like obviously like no one's happy about that.
Yeah.
But knowing what the new comp structure is and the ability to make more, like everyone's very on board with that. And so it's worked out.
But wouldn't that be an advocate to hire more salespeople, or is that a thing where they don't want more people because that means that's less clients that they...
No, like there are so many clients that we're not talking to. When we last fall, I basically reshaped the entire account list where, everybody has, basically a tiering system of like tier 1, 2, 3. It's like tier 1 are like brands that either have worked with Barstool or really like should be working with Barstool. They should be like, we might not just have the right person calling in that particular account. So let's just get like new blood in there, new perspectives, and get people to like talk to them. Tier 2s, it's like a 50-50. Like there could be some brand safety issues. There could be, we've had RFPs in the past, but we haven't made it because, they were concerned about, whatever. And then kind of the tier 3s, there's like thousands of them where like, hey, these are like relatively small in the grand scheme of things. I don't want you wasting too much of your time on it. But at least there's somebody who's covering off on it. Because we are only 12 people, there's only so much time that you can't call on, hundreds of accounts and actually like do your job properly. Mm-hmm. So it's very much like a tailored focus approach on like those tier 1 brands, educating, just getting in, banging down doors, and trying to get them to come on board. Now, yeah, I would love to bring on, 6 sellers. I don't think we need it because at the end of the day, it's like we kind of know where we need to be as a company revenue wise in order to keep this place going, and we're never going to stop selling. It's mm-hmm. not like we're contracting and it's like, oh, we get to this point and we're good. It's like, no, we're just going to keep running up the scoreboard because one, we'll make more money. We can hire new talent. But there is like, I'm going to hire more sellers. Like I will probably bring on 2 more people for 2025, but I think the team we have right now is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, if I could bring on maybe like, a junior-ish type seller and then a more experienced seller, like that would be a win.
So you'd say like 16 to 18 would be like the sweet spot there?
Yeah, I feel like 16 would be a good number.
Yeah. What's a typical commission in media?
It varies. Some brand or some companies it's like 5%. Some it's 10. Mm-hmm. I think at one point Dave was paying the OG guys like 30%. It's like crazy. Rolling. Yeah, but different times back then. Most companies like you're paid on a quarterly like commission. Like if you hit your target, then you will get a whatever your quarterly commission kind of number is, and if you hit it, then you get bonused on top of it.
Are we closer to the higher end on that?
You're definitely not the 10, but we're fair.
Yeah,
pretty fair.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it works. So
yeah, the way we do it, it's a percentage on the total revenue that you bring in.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's different levels to it and different tiers based on the types of brands and accounts you're bringing in.
Which category has the most money to spend?
Most money to spend? It depends. Like auto is massive. CPG is massive. Alcohol is massive. Insurance is massive. We never had an insurance partner. Everybody needs insurance. Everyone needs home insurance, car insurance. We've never had an insurance partner. That's another one that we're trying to break into. They traditionally are very, very conservative on the advertising side. They do a lot of TV, linear commercials. Like you see the Geicos, the State Farms of the world. Like I don't think we're there yet with them yet, but who knows? Maybe next year.
Then going back to the differences when Dave took over, the other big change was that Erica left shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change from no Erica?
Listen, I think what Erica did was insanely impressive. Growing the company to where we were, getting it sold to Penn, I don't think it would have happened without her here. So huge shout out and kudos to her for doing that. I think where Erica, and you're kind of seeing it with Dave, like you get so involved in like the talent negotiations and contracts, like that takes up a lot of time and energy. And then I think she would get involved in the weeds on things that she didn't need to. So handing over and like letting us do our job is probably the biggest breath of fresh air with Dave. It's like, hey, like I trust you guys, do your thing. Not that Erica didn't trust us, but she was involved in everything. But no, she's huge respect for what Erica did here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
first CEO. Insane. What is the biggest blow up you've had with Dave? What's the maddest he's been at you? I always love asking people this question.
Most angry he's been at me is actually my first year here. One of the things that we were able to sell at the time was emergency press conferences. And if you, it's crazy. Like that was like a thing we could sell. Shout out Marcone. And so I remember selling it as part of like Bud Light Busters. And obviously like emergency press conferences are reserved for big moments. It shouldn't be done for like a announcement of Bud Light Busters or like an ad deal or anything like that. You know, that's reserved for, hey, I bought the company back.
Yes.
And this was in our old office. We were on our second floor. He's on the third floor, and he came down and he's like, who the F sold emergency press conference, Bud Light Busters? And at this time, there's like 10 of us downstairs, like Che, me, a couple other people. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And he's like, why the F would you ever sell that? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, tell everybody that not allowed to sell that anymore. And I'm like, literally 10 of us. I'm like, guys, don't sell emergency press conferences anymore. But the thing is with Dave, and he says it all the time, he's like, he is over it so quickly. And, you know, I went up there, I was just like, hey, sorry, didn't know. Well, he's like, it's fine. He's like, just don't sell it. He has a short-term memory with that type of stuff. It's like, he might be angry at you for like 5 seconds and then move on.
Yeah. That's funny. You should just threw Che under the bus.
I know.
It was
Che sold it.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, that's kind of an interesting question for the people who are really inside Barstool here. Is it kind of wild seeing that dude that you maybe sat next to
crazy.
In 2017 is what he is now?
Oh my God, it's crazy. But he put himself out there. And I think what the beauty of Barstool is that like you don't have to be pigeonholed into one particular lane and one role here. Like if you're on the business side and you want to move from sales to production or to operations or live events, like we have that flexibility to do that here as long as it makes sense for the business at the time. But yeah, seeing Che, go from running ad operations and sending out trafficking emails to being on the yak and doing trust the data. It's awesome. I'm like so pumped for him.
Taking pictures of his corn shits.
It's
what a wild.
Doing the 1-minute movie reviews. Oh, it's funny. It's good for him.
What a turn of events.
Yeah.
You brought it up earlier too, recession. A lot of people talk about it in today's climate. Has that hit Barstool at all? And what would you say a percentage of effect it's taken?
Yeah, I mean, I think at least from a advertising standpoint, a lot of brands are waiting to see how the election goes. Depending on who wins, I think most people think if Trump wins, the economy is going to go up. If Kamala does, then it might go down. That's neither here nor there. I think for us, we made the right move last year. So we knew we couldn't keep up the growth of just adding more people. And so we made those kind of preemptive decisions and moves in 23 to get ahead of any potential shortfalls for this year. So we're in a good spot. That can't be said about other media companies. Like they're the Warner Brothers, the Paramounts of the world, even the platforms. Like they're just laying off so many people. It's really, really tough out there. And there's really good people like who've been at these places for years and decades, and they have so much experience, so much to offer. So like there's a lot of really good business talent out on the market right now, which is good for us because we can bring on people who are really skilled and know their shit. And when that time comes, then like we'll bring them on. But for us, we're in a good spot.
We've gotten so lucky that our lane has been pretty much the same lane forever.
Yeah.
Minus trying some things, because you look at some of these companies and with cord cutting and streaming and live rights and whatever, at the end of the day, there's just so much change. Half the people are going to be left holding the bag. Half the people are going to be basically in a gold rush finding, gold. Like,
yeah,
right?
we're not in a box.
No, yeah, that's what's weird.
Like, a lot of times we'll have buyers ask us, like, who's your competitor? And it's like, it depends on the day. And it's like, I think the easy answer, it's like, oh, it's ESPN. It's like, it's not ESPN.
No.
Like, it's YouTube. It's creators.
Yeah.
It's the legacy media companies. It's kind of everybody, which like sounds crazy to say, but like we are competing against like the internet. Like, us versus the internet is like a real thing. Which is honestly why, like, for us, like on the sales side, I love selling it, because we can sell anything. We can create anything. Like, we created Camp Barstool. We did that. It was a conversation in a conference room with 10 people. We came up with the idea. It makes so much sense. And it's like, oh yeah, just transplant the Chicago office into the woods for a couple of days. But there's a lot of like time, energy, and resources that did go into making that happen. But that's what's great about this place, that you can just create. And that was actually one thing that Erica told me when I first started here. It's like, you can sell and create and do whatever you want here. That's the beauty of Barstool, and still rings true. Now, we don't want to be like just spending like crazy like we were doing. And we've done a really good job of like checks and balances and making sure that we have good margins on everything, and that we're not losing money. And that's what's been great. This last year is like, we're able to kind of do what we want responsibly.
Mm-hmm. Is any other challenges besides the hit piece and the naysayers and whatnot though?
I think our biggest challenge kind of moving forward right now is that, we're entering this creator world, and there are companies that are throwing a lot of money out there for people. And I think, Dave mentioned it last week on Unnamed with like Caleb and him potentially leaving. Like, yeah, sometimes like these companies, they just come in, they throw like a crazy number at people, and you're like, damn, like that's incredible if you're able to get that.
But that takes away a sales platform for you guys.
Takes away franchises and talent for us. That's going to be a challenge for us, in the future. But no, like I think that we were nervous about the election. And Dave's obviously very outspoken on his views, and those are his personal views. And where I made a comment to him was, it's fine if people want to speak their mind and if they want to do it on their personals. But when you're sitting in front of a Barstool, Stool, and Stars, that's much different, because then you're speaking on behalf of a lot of different people at Barstool who may or may not have the same views and, as you do. And so he had sent out a note to people. It's like, hey, like, you're free to speak your mind, but just know that there might be repercussions if you do that. So I think people know where Dave stands on a lot of things, and I don't think it's necessary for a lot of folks to talk about it in a sports show or whatever. Yeah. Like it is. But then I say that, and like Trump was on Bussin' yesterday.
Yeah, I think on
fine.
This show we're gonna have a big figure possibly next week too. Yeah. So it's funny.
But it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. As long as we get some like advance notice, then at least we can like prepare and let advertisers know. And like some advertisers want to be in it and some don't.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
for sure. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I do think it's good that we've kind of gotten to the point where we've ignored people who try to say we're one thing when we're not.
Yeah.
Because there's how many people work for us now?
It's like 400.
And the sports fandom's all over the place, and so is our political leanings too.
Yeah.
There's not one way this place is. It's not a one wing company.
Which is why it works. You throw a lot of weird brains together, and it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
And then that's how we're to create this magic.
And you just kind of trust our fans to be smart and like realize like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. So,
All right, then, Ryan, anything else we didn't get to?
No, I think we're good, man. We've got our big upfront event tonight that we're hosting in the Chicago office.
You tell people what an upfront is
so
for
an
all
upfront,
my guys on the excavator right now.
So an upfront is basically you are kind of rolling out the content and sellable opportunities for advertisers in advance so that they have the ability to purchase that inventory before anybody else does. And so, like I said before, we have so much to offer, and being able to educate and let them know, hey, here's what the opportunities are is really important for them to see, to get a head start on it, because they're planning ahead for 2025 and the year ahead. They have their advertising budgets and they want to be able to secure this inventory. And so we do about 60%-ish of our full year revenue in this, couple month stretch where we're planning ahead for next year. So it's really, really important. And it gives us a really good baseline of revenue.
Kind of nice too.
Yeah, it's great. And then it's our job to, sell the rest of it. We call it the scatter marketplace. So that typically will happen in like January, February. And so we had a great upfront last year, and we had a great like scatter time frame, basically from February through August. And it's been a great year, and we're already kind of tracking, expecting, really good numbers already.
That's good. Oh, one thing I forgot to get to is another big change in your job, and I'm sure you're still kind of going through the growing pains, was kind of a groundbreaking moment for Barstool in general. If you're a content person here, was Dave allowed certain talent to take their own deals on their personal channels. Huge. How's that been going?
Honestly, it's been fine. It's been pretty smooth with UTA. And the whole thing is like, we want to put more money in your pockets, which is awesome. We had never done that before. We were never able to sell any talent's personal social accounts. So we had always been kind of chomping at the bit, being like, this would really complete the packages that we're offering our advertisers, because right now, or in the past, it was like, hey, you got to buy around their franchise and you can integrate within their social channels. They will do the videos, but it'll be posted from the dog walk, Instagram page or TikTok, whatever. Now being able to layer on personal posts is huge, because we keep saying, oh, our partnerships are 360. It's audio, video, social, experiential. And now adding personal to it is just like another awesome way for brands to be able to tap into Barstool content. And so, we partnered with UTA. They're finding new revenue streams for us, but they're also handling a lot of the kind of those like inbound DMs that you guys get and kind of vetting it. And then we over communicate so much, like we talk to them all the time. And as long as, one of these new advertisers doesn't interfere or undercut with like big partners that we're working with, it's totally fine. Like, go do the post, go do the deal. I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yeah, hey, go for it. Like, not a problem. But I can't have a water company try and come in and do a personal post with you or anybody else, because sausages. We have
that happened to me.
Exactly. That was an issue. But like we do have like exclusive partners, and we have brands that spend a lot of money in particular shows and franchises, and you don't want like one random personal post to undercut that and really just blow up those partners. So no, it's been going good. And you'll see a lot more next year, because now that we're putting together our packages and making a lot of plans, being able to include talent as part of those deals is going to be awesome.
Yeah, just a lot of it makes sense, where if it's a major company who makes millions and millions of dollars, like, they should go through you. If it's a local business who maybe doesn't have that, then it's kind of what it's for. That was a big moment.
That was big. Sure. Oh, that was huge. A lot of work went into that. But I think we got through it, and I think we're on the other side of it, and it's good.
Is there anyone that we've lost that you'd like to be like, come on, just hop back on the ship?
Advertiser wise?
Yeah, like who's like, you're like, man, we would love to have you walk back aboard.
Oh man, like one of the first big brands I had on board, and they were partnered for a number of years, was Cash App.
Yeah.
And they were a partner for a number of years, but it got to a point where they did so much defending because they were part of that 2018 to 21 era where like we were just getting nonstop hit pieces.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we can't defend you guys anymore. Like we're just getting crushed and like we love you, but they just not all partnerships last forever.
Yeah.
They run their course and it's totally fine. But yeah, I'd love for them to come back.
Come back on board, Cash App.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That.
Yeah.
How many, you don't have to say it obviously, but how many brands are like on the blacklist?
On the blacklist?
Yeah, where Dave was like, we're not doing anything with them.
I mean, probably less than 10.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean,
Robin Hood's on there. Robin Hood's on there.
Yeah, I assume so. Have they tried to reach out?
Oh, yeah.
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 I mean, yeah, there's been, and
it's
Dave,
not that many.
Dave will get over that. Like there's been public one, like one very public one that he had a beef with and now it's,
Yeah. There's not that many.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I will say, we will go to all of you guys and make sure that if we're pitching a brand, especially if it's like on your personals, then we make sure it gets approved by you. But I think we do a really good job of identifying the right fits and really match up the brands for the talent and the franchises. Every now and then, I'm sure there's like a brand you're like, oh, like this is just not for me, but I'll do it and that's fine.
Yeah.
But no, you guys do an awesome job.
Awesome. And then I guess is there like a place where people could reach out to if they listen to this? I don't know.
Yeah, hit me up, McDermott at barstoolsports.com.
There you go. Hit up by Chicago people, Nick, Maggie, Meeks.
Yep.
You got a deal. All right then. Ryan, thank you. And spend money with the dog walk in the stretch.
Exactly.
That's the other message. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eddie.
All right. That's it, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday for a draft. We'll see you then.